We had to bite our tongue. So as you come in and sit down, you can see that your follow-along sheet prompts you to consider this Shakespeare quote. So I'll leave you to do that for just a second here before we even get started. Oh, all right, Sarah, we can start now. Woo. Back row. That's what I did in corner.
My brain still functioning yet. I intentionally didn't get
Yes, ma'am. No more. Can't find any sides to make it. Don't worry, I'm gonna. This is why I don't leave my stuff laying around the house.
All right, everybody sit down, shut up. I'll be teaching this class. You'll be just listening to it. Y'all go ahead and consider this quote from Shakespeare and write stuff down on your sheet or whatever.
Oh my gosh.
This is y'all know what you signed up for.
Morning.
Oh, yes.
You can call me Professor Mosby, and I appreciate having you in this class. Good morning, friends. We're going to go around the circle and introduce ourselves by saying something that makes us feel safe in this classroom. And scene. All right, what I just did was give you a first impression, 3 different types of first impressions. That rough and tumble coach wasn't motivated by anyone except for maybe a little bit of Greg Gay. The nervous Nelly professor, who is Ted Mosby, and inspired by Jordan and my conversation about how I met your mother. And then the real hippy-dippy, flower-powered child who says, the child will always be right no matter what, as long as they feel safe. So 3 different first impressions. Let me stop this music real quick. 3 different first impressions, and we're going to talk about how first impressions are really important to setting a tone and growing a team. But first, we are more realistically going to introduce ourselves to each other. I'm going to kind of infuse a couple of good ideas, right? Games and get to know you activities, group leadership development type of activities. So along the way, so anything we talk about here, I'll give you a takeaway sheet. You can take it into your own classroom and use it however you see fit. And the first tip or game I'm going to give you, first activity is called Initial Introduction, because we're going to introduce ourselves to each other using our initials. Now, first, middle, last, that gives you 3 initials. If you're a little short on the brain juice at 8:30 in the morning, you might go with 2, or Skycat had to go with 1. So it's kind of up to you. But your initials, you can use the first letter, right? So I'm D, C, and S. And I'm going to use those letters just to say something that represents me. It could be a food, it could be a movie, it could be a place, something that represents you. The idea here is that I'm at least going to get 3 things about you as I start to get to know you. Now, I know this group knows each other, right? We are faculty, we've been around a little bit, but let's consider that we're a brand new team, we're brand new to each other, and this is a first impression for each other. So I'm D, C, and S. I'm going to tell you that I like Disney World. My family really likes Disney World. For C, I'm going to say I like cruise ships. And for S, I'm going to say my favorite animal is a shark. So at bare minimum, you've learned 3 things about me. Now, where to start? I'll go with the new guy. It was me last year, so Mr. Burkett, go ahead.
RTB, R, respectful, T, trouble, Yeah, I was getting in a lot of trouble. And B, I don't know. Buckle up, cowboy.
Buckle up. Here it comes. Okay, I feel like I know Mr. Burkett a whole lot better. We'll swing through the back rows. Mr. McGuire, take it away.
J.
Tomatoes like.
It would be JKM. Joyful, even though I don't look like it sometimes. K would be. Kangaroos are weird. I don't get the point of kangaroo. Strange animal. And metal, specifically music.
Like rock on metal? Okay.
Sassy.
Oh.
Did you need more time? Should I keep talking?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's up to you.
I don't know. I'm trying to think when to go up.
I didn't think I was gonna have to think. It's hard.
Jordan specifically signed up for the second session, so he'd be slightly more awake.
It worked.
It was at this moment that we realized we should have picked a different session.
I'm gonna go ahead and get mine out of the way just
Please.
because I have been up with kids for the last 7 days. So I'm gonna go with M as in motivated and S sleepy. I'm motivated and sleepy. I cannot think this morning.
Coach K.
S, I'm a soccer coach, so I'm gonna go with that. And K, I absolutely love to kayak. So there you go.
Oh, she made it seem easy. I'm KS, so I feel like K, I'm kind most of the time, depends on, early in the morning, I have put my coffee up. And S, sympathetic, I feel like I can be sympathetic.
Greg, I'll pause here. Greg said, traits about us or things that we like. The answer is yes, right? It's you introducing yourself, so either or.
Alright, so I got GLT. The first one is the only thing I can think of. I like going outside or going outdoors, whichever one. L, I'm typically very loud. A lot of people hate that about me. And then T, I don't know, I'm very timely. I don't like being late.
I'm gonna skip because I just realized what we're doing. I missed the instructions,
Okay.
so come back to me.
RG.
Well,
You don't have to tell everybody your middle name's Francis.
It's not Francis. It's RGG. So I'm gonna give you 2 R's. R for read, because I love to read. I'm an avid reader. And reels, like movie reels, because I love watching movies and I'm a movie buff. 2 G's. One adjective for genial, which means nice and kind and caring. I am very much that word, contrary to what you all might think. And
My paper on the ground.
yeah, I know this. And then gregarious, which also means social. It means you like to talk to people and be around people.
Thank you
So
for
I
explaining that.
Yeah, I didn't want to patronize anybody.
Overachiever.
Everybody's saying, "Duh, I keep thinking nothing." Yeah, you can't. You're just not trying. You're not pushing yourself.
That's all right, you Kyle.
And here we talk.
All right, Ms. Williams. Everybody's favorite counselor. Also the only one in the building. Continue.
Yes, I don't know, Coach Josh just said he was one, so I think that's some competition. For A, I'm saying adventure, because I do like to try new things, meet new people, go out and about. And I'm combining my other ones because I'm AWW, which means all and all. I'm really sweet and I'm really patient and kind most of the time. And then maybe for the last W, maybe I'm a little weird because I don't necessarily think the way everybody in my building thinks, but that's okay.
Ms. Hannah, I'm coming for you, Ms. McClain.
You should have let her go first. I'm just gonna be simple. H, I'm happy. I'm just generally a very positive person. And D, I'm just gonna say devoted because whatever I do 110%.
Thank you.
For A, I would say, because I can't name anything that goes with creative, I'm gonna go with artistic, because I'm very creative. B, the only word I can think of for me is blunt. I am blunt. I'm sorry, but I'm a blunt person. And M is maximum game. Mathematics is my thing.
Math the clock, here she goes. So even if I didn't know anything about you walking into this room, and we know each other fairly well in this professional setting, but even if I knew nothing about you, I now know at least 2 or 3 things about you. I've shared myself with you as well. We have introduced ourselves to each other. Now being introduced, I hope you took a second to already consider this quote, right? This is kind of the launch pad. I'm not going to elaborate on this quote now. whatever your answer is right now, that some teams are either born great, achieve greatness, or have greatness thrust upon them. Whatever your answer is right now, hang on to that. Hang with me for 20 more minutes. I want to see if your answer is still the same at the end. So we will revisit this quote. I hope you've already had a second to kind of reflect and write in that red box what your answer is. You got to write it down now, because I don't want you to change this stuff at the end of it. You got to write it down now and really see what your answer is on the backside. So having introduced ourselves to each other, kind of made the point how first impressions matter, right? Rough and tumble coach, Ted Mosby, that nervous professor, or the hippy dippy flower child. However, that initial impression, that first impression comes off, that is a tone setter, and that will affect how the group develops and grows from that point onward. So keep that in mind. We did introduce ourselves to each other, and now it's game time. Having introduced ourselves to each other, go ahead and make a circle right here. That's a geometric shape circle. I don't want to patronize anyone either. And make a circle facing inward. I'm going to model the first round of this game, then I'm going to step back and see how you all do. So, circle, not oval. Geometry's tough. Never do math in public. I get it. Wire's figuring out where he fits. All right, so I'm in the circle just to model this first round. You guys have good spacing. This is good. When I step out, you can close the gap a little bit. This game's called Zip, Zap, Zop. I am the zip. I have the zip, however you want to see it. I'm going to take my zip and I'm going to pass it. Now, it doesn't have to be right across the circle. It could be passed to anyone in the circle, but I'm going to go right across the circle to Mr. Burkett. Zip.
Zap.
Nope. Zap.
Okay.
Zap, right? He's not in charge. And then on either side of him, now this is not a test of his abdominal strength. On either side of him, you come in with Zop. Does not have to be, it's not a contact sport, right? Zop. So, Ms. McLean, Mr. Slice, go with Zop. His hands are up and you are Zop. So, a little faster now, restart. Zip.
Zap.
Zop. That's a round. That's a round. From there, he can pass it to anyone else. So to the side, could come back, back across. Just not whoever was the original zip. So go ahead and pass it. I'm stepping out. Zip.
Zap.
Zop.
Zip.
All right, you guys got to figure it out. You guys got to figure it out. So I'm gonna give that. Who just finished with the zip? Miss Sharon has the zip. So I'm gonna step out and let's just see how fast and flawless you guys can get with this.
Are you ready?
Zip.
Zip.
Zop.
Zip.
Zap.
Zop.
Zip.
Zop.
Zip.
Zap.
Oh, hands all the way up, Mr. Slice, hands all the way up. That was pretty smooth. Do you think we can do 5 in 10 seconds?
Yes.
5 rounds in 10 seconds.
Might not mess it up again.
I'll just say
Who was that confident yes? Burkett said hard yes. So Burkett, you get to be the leader here. And I got the clock. When you start, we're gonna see if we can get 5 rounds in 10 seconds.
Zip.
Zop.
Oh, zip.
Zap.
Zap.
Zip.
Zap.
Zop.
Zip.
Zap.
Zop.
Zip.
Zap.
It's like
Oh, so close.
Why y'all picking on the guy?
So close.
What's the winner?
Now, fast and flawless, that's within reach. Can we get there? Okay, who finished with the zip? I'm stepping back. Y'all lead each
I'll
other.
put color on slides.
When you start, I'll start the clock.
give Slice warning.
Zip.
Zap. Zip.
Zap.
Zap.
Zip.
Zap. Zop. Zip.
Zap.
Zop.
Zap.
Zop.
Hey! That was good. Took the other group 3 tries. So you go ahead and talk smack for the rest of the day. So having accomplished our goal, I would like this group to name a team MVP. So amongst yourselves, choose a team MVP.
There's your slides.
Consensus? All right, snaps and claps for Slice. Snaps and claps for Slice. Done. Team MVP, carry that one proud. Y'all go ahead and take a seat. Thank you for
I
playing
can
Zip.
on that. Go
Zap.
ahead.
Zop.
I think we were all trying hard because we were gonna have to make up for him.
Oh, thank you. Yes.
So, page you have in front of you shows pretty much the same screens I'm going to be showing today. I just wanted to put it in your hands so you can take it with you. Today, we are going to talk about Tuckman's stages of group development. This is a social science that was first published in the year 1965. Now, I'm a sociology degree guy, okay, that's my undergraduate. Sociology, psychology, I don't know your perspective on these softer sciences. Sometimes it feels like if you're sitting through a sociology class or maybe you read an article, whatever news media, you know, whatever outlets you guys go for your social science reading, you might be like, oh yeah, I've experienced that before. but the sociology or the psychology puts a name to it. So what I'm talking about today, you're probably going to have that, aha, I've experienced that before, but I'm going to put a name to it for you, and that name is the stages of group development, or Tuckman's stages of group development. Like I said, first came about in the year 1965, and on the grand scheme of things, that's pretty fresh social science, right? Now, not many of us were alive in 65. You know, some of us were hooking and jabbing in 65, maybe, I don't know. Greg was in here first time, so I got to make old man jokes. But we might think 1965 feels older, but in the grand scheme of the length of human history and the development of social science, this is a pretty new social science. So just keep that in mind, that it is still on the developing side, and quite frankly, every time a group develops, we add to our understanding about what are the stages of group development. So initially, Tuckman publishes 4, and that's what I'm going to focus on now. I'll get to the 5th. The first 4 stages of group development are forming, storming, norming, and performing. Now, I'm going to elaborate on each here in a second, but just taking those nice, cute, rhyming names, you could have been a Baptist pastor, right, preaching a four-point sermon. Just taking those 4 nice rhyming names, what stage do you think this group is in right now?
Our little group.
We introduced ourselves, we played a game. What stage do you think we're in right now?
The journey.
Because?
We're about to leave.
Not quite.
I said we was more in the moving or performing range.
Greg says norming, maybe performing.
Because we was able to perform our tasks.
Okay. Did we go through storming? Did we storm a little bit?
Yeah, in Zip Zap Zop.
In Zip Zap Zop, yeah, I put you in a position where you guys had, there's some arguments, some giggles, which might be covering of personal mistakes, right? I'm gonna elaborate on all these in a second. So I got kind of different opinions. What you got? Showing hostility inside of storming? Slice foot. Arguably, we did adjourn because we named a team MVP, and then I sent you back to your lives. Of course, that means sitting right in front of me, listening to me now. So I think we created a model, a real quick model, where over the course of about 5-6 minutes, you experienced all these stages of group development. Now, if I can have your attention, I'm going to elaborate on each. So forming. Forming means that the team is meeting, learning about each other, agreeing on goals, right? Why do we exist as a group? And then sets out to tackle those goals. In forming, team members are behaving pretty independently, right? We don't know each other. I don't have a reason yet to be totally loyal to the group. I am me. I am independent. So in the forming stage, team members behave pretty independently. They are usually relatively uninformed about what we're trying to tackle in the first place. Now, you may know we're a sports team. We may know we're a classroom, and this is our subject matter. But overall, the team members don't quite yet know what the big goal usually is. And then a really funny thing to observe in forming, watch this next time you enter a group and you're forming. Team members are usually on their best behavior, right? Nobody's ready to have those intra-rivalries. No one's bringing up those petty rumors from last year. When we're forming as a team members are usually on their best behavior. How you meet plays a really important point, which is why I made the point about first impressions. How a group leader, teacher, coach comes in and introduces him or herself to the group, and the environment in which the group initially meets and grows, that's really important. This is why I make the forming stage a major priority in my classroom, personally. Kind of arguably at the expense of pacing and a pacing guide, and maybe even getting to, you got it, Ms. Swanson, you got to start the U.S. colonies. I think it's really important to give up, 2 full days to the group getting to know each other. And I've got a 2-day model about how the group gets to know each other. What is our initial introduction? Captain America comes out to play. We plane crash. We got an activity that requires storming and norming. So I give 2 whole days to that initial introduction in the forming stage so that I can earn the conversation. I can earn their attention. They know what to expect in my classroom, and we can go further from there. So personal opinion, I think the forming stage is super important. To grow from this stage and go on to the next, individuals, they have to relinquish that idea of individuality, individual control, and they have to conform, they have to buy into the group's goal, and with that might come the risk of conflict. Conflict leads us straight to the storming stage. This is where the group starts to sort itself out, gain each other's trust. This stage is characterized by individuals now being willing to voice their opinions. Where I was on my best behavior as forming stage, well, now I think I have the best idea. My idea is right, your idea is wrong. I'm willing to inject my individual opinion into the group. That doesn't mean nasty, doesn't have to mean nasty. Sometimes that's how it shakes out. But in the storming stage, we are figuring out where we're going, how we're getting there, and these individual opinions start to be voiced. Now, hopefully we do start to see group members working with each other, but in that, we might see cliques develop. This group is working together pretty well, but at the expense of ostracizing or outgrouping some others. Might be two groups in opposition to each other, and that's going to create its own storm. This is what we start to see in the storming stage. Some people might be super excited about the group's goal, right? Excitement, eagerness, positivity. Let's go get it. Others might approach the group and the goal with fear or suspicion or anxiety. It's not either or. It's not you will be this, you will be that. And also no two groups storm in the same way. So your team or your classroom or your Bible study group or your family doesn't, not the stages of group development aren't cut and paste. And this is exactly what will happen. Everybody's storm might look a little bit different. In this stage, team members or participants may start to question the group leader, or if there's an informal rise of leadership, Mr. Slice kind of put your group on track as a peer leader. The inside storming, the coach or teacher or the peer leader might start to be questioned or criticized. Disagreements, personality clashes, kind of the nature of the word storming. This is something that happens in this stage. Some groups might possibly avoid this stage altogether. We'll in a second, I'll say whether that's beneficial or not. Other groups may never escape it. Have you ever been on a team that never escaped storming? Right? We didn't have a chance for performing because we never escaped storming. Now, here's where storming can be positive. Believe it or not, resolved disagreements and personality clashes can actually lead to greater intimacy, spirit of cooperation, and that takes us to norming. So now moving us to norming. Resolved conflicts, right? We disagreed in storming, but because we were able to overcome those, we are now norming. I can always go to Ranger School stories. I can say that shared difficult experience, the griping that happens when you're cold, tired, and hungry, does lead to that intimacy and the camaraderie and the team and lifelong relationships. Guys I went to Ranger School with, haven't seen them since, but it can still be in touch with them, or I could pick up a conversation where we left off because of that shared difficult experience and the camaraderie that came from overcoming the difficulties and the bickering and the storming. In norming, in this stage, all team members start to take responsibility, have the ambition to work towards that common goal. We tolerate the quirks, the fancies, the whims of individuals, because where I would have picked on you in storming, now, okay, that Swanson, he's a little out there, but he does contribute to the team pretty well. So I begin to tolerate the quirks. A danger here is that people might become so focused on preventing conflict that they don't feel willing to voice their opinion anymore. In storming, brainstorming, the conflict stage, man, my opinion is right and yours is wrong, I'm going to throw it out there. Once the group started to norm, you might see some team members not willing to shake the boat anymore, when in fact, right, there's a fine line there. We don't want to rock the boat, but man, don't marginalize yourself. Just, you may have a good idea and the group may need to hear it. So I'm always on the lookout for students that maybe don't feel like they're able to share their opinion anymore, even if they have the good idea or the right idea. They don't want to rock the boat. Classroom, right? I always see my classroom as a team. That's why this group developing into a team, I can take it from a classroom perspective, but it's real easy to talk about sports teams, clubs, any group that actually has a competition related to it as well. So norming, how do we go from norming to performing? This is when the group is knowledgeable, motivated, norms and roles are established, group members are hyper-focused on achieving that goal, and they're ready for that high level of success. For you guys, I called it fast and flawless. When we went from almost within reach, fast and flawless, we're going to get 10 in 5 seconds, to we can actually accomplish it, fast and flawless. To me, that's the performing in that, and then every team's going to have a different measurement. FCCLA is going to measure performing different than the softball team is going to measure performing, different than the EOC class is going to measure performing. Now, super important, be aware. Do you think that once you're outperforming, you get to stay at performing and there's no maintenance necessary? I hope I'm leading you to a no. Brian says, yeah, that's how it works in my classroom. It's very possible for a team to regress back to storming. What are some variables that can take a team backwards? Whether you're at norming or performing, what's something that could take a team backwards?
New members.
New members, I heard, and I heard something else.
I said failing, it's not working.
Failing, yep. New members, new leaders, failing, or just kind of a significant emotional event. Now, I like to approach the whole stage from the long perspective. I like to think of it since we're in blocks and semesters. I think my group is developing across the whole semester. But make no mistake, this model could work for a group that's clicking for an individual event as well. Maybe the softball team has a 2-game skid, right? Lose 2 games on the same Saturday. They may have been at performing, but that individual instance took them back a half step. That doesn't mean they have to reform, but they have taken a small step back and can, but what changed? Why? How can I get back into performing? I use softball just as a quick example. You can apply that to your world as well. So really important to note that, you don't arrive at performing and stay at performing. You can absolutely take steps backwards, but a good leader will determine what happened, why, how can I get back to performing. I told you Tuckman initially came up with the 4 stages. Well, the 5th stage that he added in 1977. So I think it goes to show that the learning never stops, right? That the growth of the model is not set in stone. And this 5th stage he calls adjourning, or a synonym he also uses is mourning. Adjourning is when the team completes the task and breaks up. What are some ways that we adjourn our groups in the academic setting? How do we adjourn a group? Finals, that's right. We got the ramp up to an EOC. We have the exam. I don't know about you guys, but we're gonna watch a lot of movies in our adjourning phase. Popcorn, soda, and movies. So yeah, that's a real thing. How do we adjourn the entire school year? Or someone's entire academic career, let's say. Graduation, there it is. These kids need the adjournment moment. We have graduation, we have the pomp and circumstance and the ceremony because humans need conclusion. We need to adjourn. And then I really like, it's not on the screen, but I think I got it on your page, the synonym is mourning. Some people are gonna mourn the loss of the group. That's why there are tears at graduation. People aren't sad, but they're sad. They're happy, but they're sad. We're adjourning, and there's some mourning involved as well. Coach Gay brought up softball banquet, individual awards. Well, we kind of did. We named Mr. Slice to be our team MVP, right? So the adjourning moment is some real human psychology. The group needs the adjourning moment so that you can move on. Someone last group said at the conclusion of a career, we have retirement, right? That's the longest of group development, but the adjourning point at the end of 20, 30 years, whatever it is, retirement is also an adjourn. So keeping in mind where our time is at, I'm going to pick 2 of my 5 questions. Can someone briefly take me through the stages that we went through in our development? I put you in a jar, I shook us up, we had a 7 minutes form, storm, norm, perform, conform, right? Our 7-minute model here, how do we introduce ourselves to each other? The initial introduction, okay, so you got 3 things, at a bare minimum, 3 things that you know about each other. What was an example of storming?
Having trouble with the game.
Having trouble with the game, that's right. Round 1 was not perfect. We did not have greatness thrust upon us, as Shakespeare might say. So yeah, we had some difficulties with the game. The first session had difficulty making the circle, so at least we got past that. What was norming and performing then? Yeah, when the team MVP kind of put the group on the same page, I stepped back on purpose. I wanted to see what would happen in the group. Mr. Slice steps up. He earns the team MVP by being that peer leader. And norming, fast and flawless was within reach. Performing, we got it. We got our 5 reps inside of 10 seconds. And then we adjourned with the team MVP. Let me pick my one more question here. What group are you a part of that you can apply this knowledge to? So let's make it bigger than just this session. Let's make it bigger than just this building. What groups are you a part of that you can apply the 5 stages of group development to?
Today's the first trials for the wrestling team. So a lot of the guys that are coming from football, and some of the guys that have already been with me for a week, they'll be forming. So
excellent.
And then we're definitely be transitioning into storming once they actually start to fight each other.
Good. So Reed, I hope you'll take it. Maybe you had that aha moment. I was aware that this was going to happen, but I didn't have the name for the 5 stages. Aha. Reed's going to say, I'm going to take this and help my team walk through these stages positively. I ain't going to be scared of storming because I know good things can come from it. How else?
I I think we're going through it in the guidance office, because we've got this know-it-all that's part of our group now. And, Ms. Lori Barber.
So you're past forming where everybody's on their best behavior. We're in the name calling stage.
Well, we have Miss Lori Barber, who's new in our office too, and then we have Miss Pam, that's right, that, you know, we had a lot of changes, I feel like it's going well. But,
It's
it's
falling.
going well,
Teams.
it's been an adjustment.
Cohorts within the building, okay? What else? Give me one more maybe. Then I'll give you all my answers. Run.
What about family dynamics?
Boom.
Like,
What about it?
well, I'm asking you.
No,
I thought you was gonna
continue,
take over.
continue.
I was throwing the
That's
question out.
like
I
the
mean,
Baptist who's
I
like,
mean,
oh,
I
yeah,
think we're talking about graduation in school and career and work and Army training and sports, but I was just thinking about, family dynamics, because the rules change, you get a kid, and I don't know, I'm assuming once you get a second one, the rules are gonna shift and change a little bit, and, even your relationship with your spouse, it shifts and changes a little bit, and I don't know if this all fits nicely.
It does,
in any
right?
of those,
Very much so.
and I don't want to sound morbid, but you were talking about our journey, and I was talking about, well, you got retirement, and then last place you're going is in the ground,
Right.
so, sorry, I didn't mean to
Thanks
say
for the
that.
positive.
Yeah, sorry, man.
So on that
I thought we were
note-
supposed to be getting our ideas out.
So,
Don't accept me.
Ryan, I appreciate that, because I did say, how can we take it past this building,
Right,
past
that's-
this little session? My answers that I have jotted down, far from the only answers, in the classroom, okay, you're a team, you're a group that develops. How about the teacher-co-teacher relationship? Hi, Miss Rozier, my name is Mr. Swanson, let's get to know each other, right? That was form, storm, norm, perform, right? Christy and myself, every teacher and co-teacher team. So group kind of implies many people. Oh, it could work in a dyad as well, it can work in a two-person group. School faculty and the intros within that. So there's a guidance office, there's department leadership, there's student council, and on and on and on. A sports team, a club, a church group, other employment. If you got a second job, or you're gonna leave this building someday and have other employment, you're gonna be a part of a group that develops. And family, right there, Ryan. Family's on my page as well. So I think you absolutely are a group that develops inside your family. I know I'm over time. Let me finish real quick. Something I really wanted to point out. Pam put up a slide about the stages of group development at the end of her PD on Wednesday, and I was like, this woman's gonna steal my whole PD. She did. She introduced it. She actually set up the rest of this conversation pretty well. But on her slide, she has this nice linear grow from storm to perform and adjourn. Maybe looks like this. This isn't a line, but this is almost a flawed model because it shows that perfect little stair step. I want to point out that there's probably going to be a dip in performance during storming. Y'all going to struggle a couple weeks from now. Don't be scared of that. Work through it. Grow through the mended relationships, the increased intimacy in your group relationships because of the storm. So let's not be scared of a dip in performance through storming. Let's know that it's there and continue to look for performing. Maybe we're at performing and we take a step back. We don't have to like it. We don't have to like a 2-game skid. But okay, I'm not scared. I know I can get through the storm back to norming and performing. So what about now? Right? What did you write initially? Our team's born great, achieve greatness, have greatness thrust upon them, rise to the occasion. Well, what about now? With this conversation, so we're still no on born great. I don't think anybody said that initially. What about achieve greatness? Did any thrust upon move to achieve? Here's what I hope I'm leading you to. I can't tell you what to think, but I think groups achieve greatness through the stages of group development. You don't have performance dust that gets sprinkled on you and ominous, I'm in the Super Bowl and I'm going to excel today, right? You may arrive to the occasion, but I think teams achieve greatness by going through the stages of group development. More than theory, how about real life? Not just the movie Miracle, but the 1980 Olympic hockey team. I think that's a real case study in the stages of group development. Band of brothers, military guys doing things like saving the world, go through the stages of group development. And then it's got the word dream in it. It's got the word team in it, the 1992 Olympic Dream Team. TBD on this one. I was really hoping I'd be able to show a different picture this morning, but I think these guys might be a case study someday. Form, storm, norm, perform. Hopefully it'll end with an adjournment with the commissioner's trophy, right? And then I believe leaders are readers. If you should ever want to read more on the topic, no, I'm not going to summarize each book right now, but these are the books that have kind of made me. And if you ever want to borrow one, by all means, Ryan takes one from my bookshelf every week. These are my favorite leadership books, and I'll be happy to share converse with you. What's it in the office, the Finer Things Club? If you want to start a Finer Things Leadership Club, I'd be happy to do that as well. So thank you for your time and attention. Let me whistle at you and yell at you, and you are now adjourned.
That was fantastic.
So learn how to stop the bleeding, I guess.
Yes.
Oh, and I do have one more page. I have a takeaway page.
Everybody
for
doesn't
you.
have to attend
So,
stop.
and of course, don't forget the sign-in sheet. Takeaway page is everything we talked about. Hopefully it'll be useful to your life.
She said if you've already done it.
Thanks, sir.
Good.
So y'all had a good trip.
Thank you for
I'll see. That was on the list. So.
Just tell Lori you've already.
mattered.
Y'all had a good trip.
We did.
I didn't know